Somebody else has been around looking at all these storms for so long is Dr. Neil Frank at the National Hurricane Center. Thank you for joining us this evening, Dr. Frank. I'm having trouble hearing you. Let me just ask you a couple of questions. The way this particular depression came up, what we used to call the alley.
Yeah.
Did you have any mental problems with what it was going to do as it moved along the North Shore?
Oh, no, not at all, Don. As you know, many of the disturbances in the heart of the hurricane season emerge from Africa and eventually move up the islands. Now, if the center emerges on the north side of the islands, then it becomes a major problem for us. If the center stays over the islands, then it does like this one's doing. And right now, at least, the center has gone right down the heart of Cuba, and I think that has prohibited some strengthening, and for that we're very thankful here in southeast Florida.
Right now, as it moves right out of Cuba and into the southeast Gulf of Mexico with the warm water and what have you, do you think it's going to strengthen any?
Oh, man, that's our primary concern right now. It looks like the center should go on offshore and into the southeastern Gulf of Mexico where the waters are quite warm, and we could see some rather serious strengthening yet tonight and tomorrow, and it's possible that we could have a hurricane at this time tomorrow.
Right, but as it now stands and on its present track and the forecast track, as I understand it, probably here in Miami, what will we wind up with? Just maybe a few squalls or showers or thunderstorms out of this?
Exactly what we're experiencing now. This is what tropical storms are all about. And so these squalls will continue tonight, and if the system continues to move on out in the Gulf of Mexico as we anticipate, then we should see some improvement tomorrow.
I hate to put you on the spot like this. Well, I don't really hate to, because we do it all the time when these things happen. But where do you ultimately feel this thing is going to go?
Oh, we don't know. But if it becomes a hurricane in the Gulf of Mexico, then somebody in the northern Gulf is going to have a serious problem before it's all over.
Right. Dr. Frank, thank you very much. Appreciate your time and visit here at Channel 7.
From the Space Shuttle Discovery, the astronauts say it looks like a big, gentle marshmallow. But tonight, Hurricane Elena is anything but gentle. The storm is bearing down on the Gulf Coast, and people from Florida to Louisiana are evacuating in anticipation of Elena's arrival in the wee hours of the morning. Good evening. Sally Fitz is off tonight. Jill Beach is joining us. Hurricane forecasters are saying the storm that brought us rain last night is a growing hurricane tonight that's got to be taken very seriously. News Center 7 meteorologist Bob Soper is back in our weather center with the very latest. Bob?
Well, Jill and Peter, we've been watching Hurricane Elena since, of course, it was a tropical depression out around the Windward Passage. Had a little trouble getting its act together as it moved up across Cuba. We'll show you more on that later. But let me show you the latest satellite picture that we can get of Hurricane Elena as it continues to move toward New Orleans. Now, one good thing about this, if you can say anything is good about a hurricane, we've got a high-pressure cell that's right out there that is helping to protect us, and that is going to continue, we hope, to push this storm in this kind of a direction. So we expect the storm to probably go right into that vicinity. So the people along the Gulf Coast have been warned to be ready for Elena's impact. Right now it has 85-mile-per-hour winds, and as it continues to move into the direction of the middle Gulf Coast states, it's at 26.5 north, 86.5 west, and it's 325 miles southeast of New Orleans. It's moving toward the northwest at 10 to 15 miles per hour. Winds currently 85 miles per hour. The thinking is it may develop even more as it continues to move toward the Gulf Coast of the United States. Now, we're going to be watching this storm, as are the folks down at the National Hurricane Center, and we've got with us again Dr. Neil Frank, I believe. And Dr. Frank, what's the new thinking? I understand the latest advisory has this thing moving a little bit to the east of its recent course. Is that still holding on?
Down a little bit, and if it does, there is a good chance that the storm could move a little bit to the right of where we projected it. Now, if that would occur, we might have to extend the hurricane warnings a little bit further east into the area where we have a hurricane watch at the present time.
Well, Dr. Frank, what more could people be preparing to do up in that area that they haven't done already? I mean, really, they are expecting this. Is it going to be extended? Is the hurricane warning area going to be extended over to, say, Panama City, maybe even to Apalachicola?
Yeah, well, if we had to extend it further east, and we'll be watching tonight to see if there's any evidence that there might be a trend towards the right turn here now, then, of course, the folks that live along those beachfront locations and those islands would need to get on out and need to do it quickly tonight.
How much more strengthening could we expect? Do you think 100-mile-per-hour winds might be the top strength?
Yeah, boy, we don't know on that. You know, we've got a minimal hurricane over the warm waters of the Gulf Stream at the peak of the hurricane season, and I think it makes good sense to consider that the possibility that this thing could strengthen and become a dangerous hurricane. And so the folks up there need to respond on the basis of what it might do, not what it is actually doing.
Well, once again, Dr. Frank, South Florida is spared from a hurricane, and we know that you'll keep tabs on this for us. Thanks for joining us. One quick look at the computer, and then we'll throw it back to Peter and Jill. You can see the danger area from Morgan City to Pensacola. That, so far, is the track of the hurricane, but it may move into that yellow zone, that 20% probability. So we're going to be watching it for you throughout this newscast and, of course, throughout the night. And I'll be up later to tell you what kind of effect this hurricane is going to have on our Labor Day weekend. Peter?
Thank you, Bob. This is a heck of a way to come back from vacation, isn't it?
Well, I don't mind at all. You know, this is part of my job.
Thank you. We'll see you later in the newscast. A lot of people spent today watching Elena on radar. Our health and science reporter, Dr. John Miller, spent the day watching Elena from a smack dab in the middle of the storm. He was the only reporter on a Hurricane Hunter aircraft that flew right into the heart of the hurricane. He's just back from inside the storm and is standing by live at Miami International Airport. John?
Peter, I've just finished 13 hours on this one plane, and I tell you right now is the only time all day that it's been calm. Let me let you see a little bit of my plane here. There's a lot of electronics. Right here is a computer. This is the computer tape that they put all the data that they got from the storm on. This they'll analyze and try to figure out what causes these hurricanes and where this one's going. Let me show you back over here. Here's a radar display. This is the eye of a hurricane right there. Over here is some data about it, pressure and temperature as you go through that storm. Now back up here behind me, well, that's the cockpit. That's where the pilots live. Well, what's it like to fly in and out of a hurricane all day long? I thought you'd never ask. When we flew out of Miami before daybreak, Elena was still just a tropical storm. We caught up with her 300 miles away, toward the southwest. It's 8 o'clock in the morning and Elena's blowing about 60 miles an hour. We're 100 miles north of Cuba, and this is the eye of the storm. 45 minutes later, the winds picked up to 74 miles an hour, and Elena officially became a hurricane. But still a weak sister as hurricanes go, and not very rough at all on us. In some hurricanes, the wind blows 3 times this fast.
A well-developed hurricane would have us, we'd be hanging on for dear life.
Radar guided us in and out of the eye for the next 7 hours. Very calm in the eye, somewhat turbulent in the outlying squalls. We flew as low as 1,500 feet, as high as 6,000 feet. The plane belongs to the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. Flights like this are necessary because some of the most vital information about the storm is only available deep inside the storm.
Satellite information is useful, but what happens is with the satellite, the cloud cover, the high cloud cover, totally obscures what's going on underneath.
Once a minute, the plane transmits weather information to a satellite 22,000 miles out in space. Wind speed, pressure, temperature, you name it. From there, it goes 22,000 miles back down to Miami, where a computer plots it out automatically. Without this information, hurricane forecasters would be in a bind.
Without the aircraft information, that detailed information of where the winds are strongest and where they're not, the Hurricane Center is blind.
Is this dangerous work?
Eliminated. We could stumble into something that we couldn't contend with. It could upset us at a low level that maybe we couldn't recover from. But I don't expect that. It is really exciting. I mean, because it makes your year. The rest of the year you sit behind the desk and drink coffee.
People like you, swashbucklers, carefree, all those things?
Oh, golly, John, at my mature age, I wish I were swashbuckling and carefree. It's too late for me, John.
Well, I'd lot you like to see my plane. It's sitting right over there. Another one just like it, his twin sister, is up in the air right now, flying over the hurricane. They'll fly back-to-back non-stop until this thing is over. Peter and Jill?
John, did you feel like a swashbuckler?
Well, I felt pretty daring. You do give it a couple of thoughts. Am I going to make it out of here alive? Actually, it was fairly tame today. I think we got lucky.
Well, thank you. You helped us learn a lot. That's News Center 7's Dr. John Miller reporting live from Miami International Airport. With